Alright, It Chapter 2 has a brand new trailer. I really enjoyed the first film, and I like most of the book. So I thought, hey, why not break down this new trailer? Like with my Spider-Man Far From Home one, this is a bit off the dome, but at the same time, there's a bunch of stuff that I've written down that I want to touch on. The new cast, who's who, what Pennywise really is and what form he or she is going to take in this new movie, what's included from the book, what's missing from the book, so on and so forth. And if you would be so kind, a like always helps, gets this video seen and noticed. That's what I've been finding. Anyway, let's get stuck in. Right, okay, this first shot, it's the former home of Beverly Marsh. This whole scene is taken straight from the book. You can see it actually says Marsh on the door. And in the book, she reads Marsh, looks away, looks back, and then it says Kirsch. It's a minor detail that it seemed to have missed, that it then alters on the fly. And it's kind of the first sign in this scene, and also in the book, that things may not necessarily seem what they be are. What it truly be is that it were. So after going in, she gets to have a look around at the approval of this terrifying old woman. She finds the postcard that's from Ben. Now, from memory from the book, she doesn't remember who it's actually from. If you recall in the first movie, she thinks it's from Bill until she asks him about poetry, and he's like, I don't know anything about poetry. And the memories of what they can and can't recall from their childhood, that plays a big part in It Chapter 2. You can see in this moment also Beverly's got bruises on her arms. This is also taken directly from the book. The abuse that she suffered as a child, that carries on into her adulthood with her husband, who will most likely play a role in this movie. And then of course we get in the background the creepy old woman scuttering away, confirming that, yeah, this ain't all what it seems. So when they sit down, she offers some tea, which she drinks. You can see there's a look on her face like, something's up with his tea. And there is. In the book, it is excrement under the guise of tea. And she kind of suspects that something's up, and she doesn't realize that until a little bit later. But yeah, like in the book, there's all these little hints along the way that things aren't right. Now, there's mention here before all hell breaks loose that this old woman is the daughter of a man who came to the country with $14 in their pocket and joined the circus. The implication being that she isn't it, but the daughter of it. All of that, though, is a lie. None of that backstory is true. She's not the daughter of it, she is it. Though it in the books is capable of laying eggs, which might play a part in this movie. But also interestingly, and this is discovered in the book, it may actually be female. It's never really discovered what exactly it is. We'll talk about that more in a bit. But yeah, again, this whole thing is a lie. Turning into a spooky naked witch, also from the books. Kind of reminds me of Baba Yaga from that recent Hellboy movie. You didn't see it? Don't worry about it. Here we get our first look at the Losers Club. Now you notice that in all of these shots, the maximum amount of members there are is 6. And this is a bit of a spoiler. It does happen pretty early on in the book. So if you want to just mute, I'll leave this up until I've stopped talking about it. But Stanley Uris, one of the group who commits to coming back and defeating it if it ever returns, when it comes to that point in time, he just can't handle it and he commits suicide. He's apparently played by Andy Bean, so a very minor role in the book. But pivotal because if you lose a member of the Losers Club, the power against it does weaken because they're bound together by friendship and love and looking out for each other, and you lose a member, and that obviously affects that. Like this shot here of the original cast as kids. They did actually film new stuff for this movie using those actors. It's not all footage from the first movie. None of them turned out to be 7 feet tall just yet, which always helps with continuity, obviously. And yeah, just a bunch of shots of them trekking across town. An empty town, suspiciously. This moment in the Chinese restaurant, this is also from the books. It's their first reunion where they get together. At the start, it's, joking and drinking and laughing until things kind of take a turn. But the thing is, all of these characters, bar one, they barely remember their childhood. It starts to come back as the story progresses. The only one that has a firm grasp of everything that happens is Mike, because he's the only character that actually stays in Derry. The rest of them just get right out of there. But even though their memory's kind of gone, they've still got this pull that takes them back in, and it still is affecting them in their adult lives, even if they're not exactly sure why. Throwback to when Bill's brother was taken in the sewer drain. What I never understood, is this an American thing? Look at the size of this sewer drain. You'd drive a car down there. I mean, I know the town was like built on an evil clown's nest or whatever, but bloody hell. Kids would go missing down there all the time, whether there was a clown or not. And here we get our first really good look at James McAvoy as Bill Denbrough. Now, in the book, he grows up to be a writer. On the Stephen King Wikipedia, it says, Bill was a very talented writer from an early age, and as an adult, has written 5 horror novels. Bill has won multiple awards because of his skills, regardless of the criticism he often receives. Bill also is bald in the books when he returns in the 90s miniseries. He's actually got a ponytail. I think the James McAvoy look they've gone for is the best one, I think. This moment with the balloons under the bridge, this actually opens the entire novel. The book jumps around more between when they're kids and adults than the movies do. But yeah, basically it opens with the 1985 return of It, which when the book was written was the modern day. They've switched it up a bit now. But basically a gay man is attacked and I think thrown off this bridge from memory, and he's calling out for help. He's looking for someone to assist him, and then he's attacked and killed by Pennywise. And that moment is what kicks off the new Pennywise cycle that happens every 27 years. Here we got Richie, though. He's played by Bill Hader. Great casting again. He ends up being a shock jock because obviously from the first movie you would have seen he's just always running his mouth, and he ends up having a job in doing that very thing. And he's very successful also in his line of work. What he's looking at here is Pennywise floating over the Paul Bunyan statue. I hope they include this moment because it's in the book. The statue actually comes to life and swings an axe at him. I believe it's just an illusion. It's not a real attack. It's just to scare him, because also nobody else around seems to notice any of it. There's a bunch of people just standing in the background. This is on freeze frame, but if you watch the actual trailer, they're just standing there. They're not doing anything, because most of this town is, of course, under the influence of Pennywise. There's this evil undercurrent that's just been there for generations. This moment here, this is Mike looking to be in the building where his parents died in the fire. And Pennywise looks to be walking down the wall, defying gravity. He's played by Isaiah Mustafa, who people would most likely recognize from being the Old Spice guy or one of the Old Spice guys. Again, really great casting. In the novel, he's the one who seems to have aged the most, being stuck in Derry and being burdened with this knowledge. So I hope they kind of fold that in to the movie a little bit. I don't know if they really do, because he looks fantastic. Like a model, like a guy who could model in an Old Spice commercial. This is a Pennywise transformation, it looks to be. I'm not sure at what point in the movie this exactly is. He can really appear as anyone or anything. Maybe the old woman? I'm not really sure. What I like about a lot of the Pennywise transformations and the unsettling aspects of that character is a lot of it is slight CGI tweaks, like his eyes will go slightly askew, or his jaw will click in a way that's a little bit unnatural. So it's not fully kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better example, like The Thing remake or reboot or prequel, whatever it was from a few years back, where it's just a whole lot of CGI just slapping and slopping together. It's subtle things, which I really think adds to the unsettling nature of this character. We get a shot of Bill and Beverly getting close. In the books, Bill's married. Well, they're both married, but Bill's actually in a very committed and loving relationship. Like I said, he grew up to be a writer and he's involved in the movie industry. His wife is a famous actress. She actually plays a part, I believe, in this movie. But yeah, they're still drawn to each other. And there is a kind of a bit of a love triangle moment with those two and Ben, who grew up to be very handsome, played by Jay Ryan, who's actually an Australian actor. Again, great casting, not just for the Australian thing. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Here we get James Ransom as Eddie. I don't really know much about this actor. I know he's done a bunch of stuff, but look, if it's anything like the others, I'm sure it's cast very well. Beverly here drowning in a pool of blood. I think this is her bathroom from the first movie, just looking at the tiles. This might happen in the moment where the old woman attacks and she runs in there and it's flooded and whatever. But that remains to be seen. This moment here, the losers are doing something called the Ritual of Chud, where basically they're helping defeat it by going into another dimension, the Macroverse. This is something I'm not sure how much of they're going to touch on in the movie. I'll talk about that more in a little bit, because of course there's this final shot of the light, which is then clapped out by Pennywise. This kid is apparently called Victoria, if that makes a difference. And like most of the attacks that happen in this town, happens in broad daylight with adults right there. She appears to be under some bleachers at this point. But yeah, what this light might be or represent is the deadlights, which is what powers it. He or she or it, or whatever, uses them to lure children, like hypnotize them, steal souls. We saw a little bit of that in the last movie when he gets Beverly Marsh, and I think that's something that's going to return again. A character that I think will play a massive role, well, not a massive role, but a significant role in this movie is Henry Bowers. If you remember, he falls pretty brutally down a sewer. In the book, he actually recovers from this, and he ends up in an insane asylum. I think that character is set to return as kind of a henchman or under the influence of Pennywise, but his mind is just completely broken. But some things from the book that I think may not make the cut necessarily. It's revealed, it's a fucking weird moment in the book. It's revealed later that after they defeat Pennywise for the first time, they can't get out of the sewer. They just keep going around and around in circles. And they need to make some kind of sacrifice so they can find their way out. And that sacrifice ends up being all of them taken in turns to have sex with Beverly. It's very off-putting. And I think it was also in an era where Stephen King was doing a lot of drugs, or the way the story goes. I'm sure that is an element of the book which won't be making it in. Well, I hope not anyway. Nobody needs to see that. But the other thing is, Pennywise has an enemy in a giant interdimensional turtle that created the universe that is believed to be dead but maybe isn't. They were both around at the beginning of time, but it decided to make its home on planet Earth. There's a flashback sequence which might be included where you actually see it crash to Earth like billions of years in the past and then just wait. But you don't really know why it's there or what its purpose is other than really just to sleep and eat. That's it. The other thing we don't really know is what it looks like. In the book and also in the telly movie, or the miniseries, whatever you want to call it, it turns out to be a giant spider and they just kind of stab it to death. But the thing is, it's not really a spider. It's perceived as a spider because when a regular person looks at it, you can't comprehend what you're looking at. And so your mind fills in the blanks and just goes, this is too much. I guess it's a spider. But yeah, it's not a demon. It's not from hell or anything like that. It's this interdimensional being from the macroverse which crash lands on Earth. And there's this whole thing in the book about how you got to go into this other dimension to defeat it properly, etc. and so forth. I don't know whether they're going to do any of that. And they don't really touch on that in the miniseries either. And I also like how they did it in the last movie, where when it gets down to it, they just beat the shit out of him. And what I love about that is he's this terrifying presence for the kids, and he's just been messing with them the whole summer and really their whole lives. And he's so fucking annoying, and they just fuck him up. I love it. But no, I think we're going to get the giant spider though in the next movie. There's a hint of it in a transformation here from the first movie you probably remember, but I'd imagine that's the way it's probably going to go. Anyways, we'll be talking about this more on Monday on my podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. We'll talk about a bunch of stuff, including the new Detective Pikachu movie. But if you like trailer breakdowns or videos, there's a recent one, like I said, for Spider-Man Far From Home. So subscribe and like and all of those things for any of that. I was also working on a video that's Pokemon related for 1 million subscribers, but my recent Pokemon video got copyright struck, which was great. So I might put that on pause for the moment because I don't want to go into all this effort and have it taken down immediately like that one was. So I don't know whether I end up doing anything. I mean, 1 million is just a number anyway. What I do appreciate is the people who, come back and watch and listen to the podcast and are so supportive on Twitter and Instagram and whatever. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, regardless, is there anything in this trailer that I've missed? Is there anything from the book that you'd like to see included or not included? I'd love to hear any of those thoughts. And that is the end of the video. Thank you very much. Have a good time. Goodbye.